Hey everyone, Esther Deascus here. Now, full disclosure, I'm stuck in traffic right now, streaming from Dan's old phone, the one he never updates. So, if anything glitches, blame the philosopher, not the messenger. If we haven't met yet, I'm the communications lead at Mentabacus, and also Dan's unofficial idea wrangler. I help him shape and structure the flood of concepts that come out of his head, and sometimes gently persuade him to prioritize. Anyway, he asked me to step in again for this week's episode. Apparently, it's his gym and reset today. Too much thinking, not enough pull-ups. His words, not mine. But don't worry, I'll be reading Dan's piece for you today, and this one's got range. This is Riding the Inverted Horse. From faith to frameworks. From orphans to astronauts. What happens when stories collapse, when scripts clash? Halle's crocodile still swims in my mind, a strange souvenir from an institution that left a lasting mark on education and faith traditions in Europe. But if Halle shaped educational history in the 17th and 18th centuries, Prague's role runs even deeper. Charles University, Universitas Carolina Pragensis, founded in 1348 in Prague, is the oldest university in Central Europe and the earliest to host a significant German-speaking academic body. And with it, a breeding ground for intellectual and spiritual conflict. It's here in Prague that the drama of the 30 Years' War began. In 1618, angry Bohemian Protestants threw two Catholic envoys out of a castle window, an event later called the Defenestration of Prague. Miraculously, no one died. They landed in a pile of manure. The Catholic response? A divine sign. Providence had intervened, they said. God had saved his representatives. This wasn't just reframing, it was a masterclass in rebranding. And it marked the beginning of the first full-scale script war in Europe. A war of religion, but also of worldview. Power and belief fully entangled. The dominant Catholic script collided with a rising Protestant counterscript, and so began a war that would tear the continent apart for 3 decades. Of course, the Prague Defenestration didn't happen in a vacuum. 100 years earlier, a German monk had struck at the very heart of the dominant script. Martin Luther didn't just criticize church corruption. He challenged the idea that divine truth required a clerical middleman, or a Latin-speaking elite. His script asphemy was radical. Faith in the vernacular, sermons in German, scriptures for the people. The Bible wasn't a secret code. It was meant to be read by everyone. So he translated it, and at the same time, the printing press arrived. Words once locked in monasteries began circulating. The gatekeepers panicked. They had long used language as insulation, a theological firewall that protected orthodoxy from popular scrutiny. But now, the firewall was breached. When institutions speak in inaccessible lingo, it's rarely by accident. From medieval Latin to modern bureaucraties, script owners often cloak themselves in language that preserves power. Inoculation via a specialized lingo. Immunity through obscurity. Luther's counterscript tore that veil. The result? A cultural explosion and eventually a catastrophe. The war cost nearly 1/3 of all lives in the German lands, and it would erupt in Prague more than a century after Luther's challenge. Freedom came, but not without fire. After decades of bloodshed, the Peace of Westphalia didn't just end the war. It expanded the map of recognized faiths, granting legal standing to Calvinism alongside Lutheranism and Catholicism. But the story didn't end there. Within Lutheranism itself, new reformers emerged. They found the post-war church too rigid, too hierarchical, Alsace, too entangled with worldly power. Enter Philipp Jakob Spener. Around 1675, he began calling for a more personal, lived faith. Less ritual, more heart. This was the birth of Pietism. Then came August Hermann Francke, who turned that vision into action. In Halle, he built schools, orphanages, teacher training centers, even pharmacies. Faith wasn't just something to believe. It was something to do. One breakthrough with cross-European impact came through collaboration. Francke teamed up with Karl Hildebrand von Canstein, a nobleman and an innovator. Together, they used new printing techniques to mass-produce affordable Bibles and sold them across Europe. Not for a personal profit, but to fund the very institutions that printed them. It was faith fused with technology. Belief scaled through infrastructure. Education became both a mission and a system, structured like an early version of modern marketing. Multiple schools tailored to different social groups, all hosted on the same campus. A network of learning, unified yet diversified. This was more than faith. It was a launchpad, a superscript, rooted in belief but executed through action. Teaching kids, building schools, printing books. It replaced abstraction with structured action. Think of it as a 17th century iOS, an operating system. Streamlined, scalable, and designed to reboot society from the ground up. It's astonishing how few people today know about the Francke enterprise. Maybe it's because we still haven't figured out how to make history engaging. Not just a list of dates and facts, but stories people actually remember. Not because they have to, but because they're just that remarkable. A 17th century iOS? I'd say that's a story worth telling. By pushing faith into the practical, the movement shifted emphasis from abstract theology to lived devotion. Not less structured, but more embodied in daily disciplines. Driven by individual piety, small group formation, literacy, and community care. And yet, it retained one uniquely Christian core. The inversion of power, the weak lifted up, the last becoming first. This underlying ideal, the inversion of power, helped shape the Western concept of the autonomous individual. The concepts indirectly laid the moral groundwork for democracy, for free speech, and even, I'd argue, for market economies. Systems that only function if individuals have value, apart from class or birth. Meanwhile, Pietism developed in parallel with, and often in tension with, the Enlightenment. Where rationalism sought truth through reason, Pietism sought depth through lived conviction. They didn't cancel each other. They coexisted. But the balance wouldn't hold forever. Some of these movements squarely attack the foundational institutions of the Western world: family, property, tradition. This broader skepticism toward hierarchies, inherited structures, and shared truths is increasingly visible even in how we approach parenting today. As such, critiques have moved into the cultural mainstream. Many adults today try to be their children's friends. Well-meaning, of course. But that's not the role. Children don't just need companionship. They need guidance. They need structure. They need inheritance. And so we orphaned ourselves. Not just in families, but culturally. The result isn't liberation, it's disorientation. These scripts we inherited, moral, cultural, educational, and vari, were flawed and worthy of critique wherever they went off track. But they offered coordinates. They told us who we were and who we might become. Now we drift. And maybe this is where Prague re-enters. For many, 1989 marked a turning point, and Prague played a visible role in the move toward a new script. One filled with promise, but not without sacrifice. In Lucerna Passage, the famous statue of an inverted horse still hangs from the ceiling, a strange echo of the proud steed in Wenceslas Square. 2 horses, 2 scripts. One triumphant, one turned upside down. We are reminded, rewriting scripts comes at a cost. But maybe that's the final message. The astronaut, the orphan, the reformer, they all need somewhere to begin. Not a place to escape from gravity, but to organize the launch. A place to write and live as the scripts that still matter. And this was today's bigger picture episode. Some stories carry us forward. Others flip the world upside down. The inverted horse still hangs there, reminding us that even triumph can come with disorientation. So, what horse are you riding? And more importantly, has your horse ever been inverted? And if so, did you notice that strange ambivalence of feelings? Relief, hope, and aspiration, alongside the intimidating forces of almost uncontrollable uncertainty that come with such script inversions? No wonder Dan, just back from the gym, is off to the garden now. He says banana plants are easier than belief systems. But they too need structure. Roots, light, space. Today's task? Make space for a few of them to grow their own storylines. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you again next Sunday. And remember, as Dan always says, learning isn't a trend. Structure still works. Square, not hip. Visit us at mentabacus.com.
Every story needs structure. Every mind needs a map. Mentabacus. Square, not hip.